Jschlatt is a hunk of a man who is breedable but most definitely not submissive. If you don't believe me, just look at these pictures of him for yourself and be the judge. I mean, I'm getting the hots just looking at them. Oh my god. Sorry about that, I kinda lost control there, but well, at least now I've got your attention. Cancel culture is a plague that the internet has become all too familiar with in the past year or two, and it's one that frankly, we're all sick and tired of hearing about. It feels like it's become commonplace online for a content creator to get canceled for saying or doing the most insignificant and menial things, albeit that's not to say that cancel culture is entirely pointless. Sometimes a cancellation is warranted. Such was the case in the EDP 445 situation earlier this year. Most people are familiar with this controversy, but for those who aren't, EDP was a once prominent YouTuber that was cancelled for talking to a minor in a sexually explicit manner. However, the minor in question was merely a decoy for him to get caught talking to. So as a result of his deplorable actions, a video was dropped in which he was confronted by the man posing to be the minor. This, as you can probably expect, led to his inevitable cancellation and even the termination of his YouTube channel, essentially speedrunning the end of his career. However, while at times you have serious situations like the one mentioned in which the cancellation is totally deserved, on the other hand, there are other times where you can't help but think about why someone is being cancelled for something that can be considered inoffensive to everyone except for the Minecraft stans, that is. The Minecraft stans are the prime spearheaders for cancel culture, as most of them find any minute thing to be offensive. This is especially notable when it comes to canceling their favorite creators over relatively harmless things. The main targets tend to be Dream and Schlatt, among many others. The former always submits to his audience and profusely apologizes out of pure fear of losing all that he has, even though an apology is unnecessary in most cases, and it just makes everything worse. Whereas the latter knows better. So what does he do? Well, he keeps his damn mouth shut and doesn't address anything, therefore stripping these stands of any sort of satisfaction they can derive from canceling him. Not only this, but contrary to Dream, Schlatt doesn't care about getting cancelled, hence why you've never seen him write up a long-ass twit longer, begging for forgiveness from the fans and stans alike. But what's most interesting about Schlatt's apathy towards cancel culture is that he's been cancelled for numerous things that these other creators would have immediately apologized for even if they had no real necessity to. So with that in mind, I think this is a perfect place to start the video off on, that being Schlatt's history with cancel culture. Schlatt, similarly to Minx and Dream, has had a very long and tumultuous history with cancel culture, having been cancelled for pretty much anything and everything under the sun. This includes ableism, homophobia, transphobia, making edgy jokes, and racism, most notably against Black and Asian people. Superficially, aside from the edgy jokes, this all sounds horrible and makes Schlatt out to be a terrible person that no one should associate themselves with. However, you'll quickly realize that this is all being blown way out of proportion when digging deeper into it. For the record, before further analyzing any of these claims, I'd like to state that these were all compiled onto a Google document by Kyoto Commentates, a YouTuber who made an excellent video about this exact topic that I highly recommend watching after you finish watching this one, of course. I'd also like to state that all of these claims originated from a reasonably lengthy Twitter thread that is now deleted. However, I will link the archived version of it down in the description below if you wish to look at it. Anyhow, the first claim of ableism is divisive because not everyone is offended by the use of the word retard. I'd say it's not one of those objectively offensive words like the N-word or the F-slur, especially when considering the fact that it was once an official medical term used to describe people with mental disabilities. My point is that it's a word that some are offended by and some aren't. It's also important to note the context in which a term like this is used. Say for example, if Schlatt were to call an actual person with a mental disability this word, then yes, that's a shitty thing to do and he should be called out for it. But in the two instances of Schlatt using this word shown in the document, neither were used in an offensive context towards someone with a disability. The first one was a tweet from May 1st, 2016 in which he said, "I mean, there wasn't a single good point about how Markiplier's video was bad, you just called him a retard with stupid hair." This was in response to a video made by Grade A Undera in which he was criticizing Markiplier for giving his opinions on drama, and he was attacking Mark in a rather harsh way by just generally insulting and undermining him, as was typical for Grade to do back then. So in the aforementioned tweet, Schlatt was just pointing out a fact, just with harsher language used is all. As for the second tweet, it was posted on October 6, 2018. It was in response to one of a panda's tweets, which is unfortunately no longer available, seeing as how this specific Twitter account of his was suspended. However, despite that, Schlatt's reply is still visible, and he said, "How can you say that? It's right there in the GIF, you retard." Bear in mind that Schlatt and a panda are close friends, and I don't know about you fellas, but it's pretty common in my friend group to use that word as a way to call someone stupid. So needless to say, Schlatt wasn't saying this word to offend neurodivergent people, it's just something some friends do to call each other dumb. The point is that in neither of these tweets was the word used in a genuinely derogatory manner, hence invalidating the argument of Schlatt being an ableist person. Next up are the two claims made of Schlatt being a homophobe, and while these may have a bit more validity to them, I think they're still a bit of a stretch. If you followed Schlatt back in early 2019, prior to him joining SMP Live, he often streamed to his YouTube channel, and in these streams he would play a game called OpenTTD. He would also have media share enabled during these streams, which would allow viewers to donate money to play a video on stream for Schlatt to see. On one occasion, the video shared happened to be questionable and potentially even in violation of YouTube's terms of service. This person donated $5 with the message, "Suck my fat slobbery dick in Discord, Schlatt," to play a video of Ricardo Milos shaking his ass, and this rightfully so annoyed Schlatt. So in response to this, he joined the Discord call with the donator to tell him off, and he got a little bit carried away, resulting in him calling the donator the F-slur. However, Schlatt quickly realized that he messed up by using such a word, and his regret was immediately noticeable, seeing as he was awkwardly laughing at the whole situation.
Oh, I shouldn't have said that word. Time out, I shouldn't have said that word. That was a word I should not have said.
I don't think he was trying to be homophobic in this situation, but it was a poor decision on his behalf to use such a word towards a viewer. The other claim is from these same OpenTTD streams in which Schlatt named one of the female characters D. Ike, because I guess she kind of resembles someone that could be lesbian. I think this is not an issue though, and a lot of people seem to think so as well, even lesbians. So if the group being targeted isn't offended by the joke, you shouldn't be offended for them. Apart from the edgy jokes claim, the transphobic point against Schlatt is the weakest and shortest by far. The only piece of evidence they have against him is a screenshot of a Discord message from August 27th, 2018, in which he said, "I'm a tranny, I'm crazy," and I think this is a feeble argument. There's no context provided to show why he said that, and the screenshot is almost 3 years old. People can change drastically in that amount of time. I'm sure Schlatt's never publicly used that word again since he wrote the message, and never said anything transphobic since, so to assume that he has negative beliefs about transgender people over one out of context Discord message is nothing but ridiculous. Again, as I mentioned, the edgy jokes claim is incredibly weak, seeing as how humor is subjective. Some people will like the dark and morbid jokes Schlatt makes, and others won't. It's as simple as that. However, what angers me is that people think you shouldn't joke about specific topics, and I disagree entirely. Everyone should have the right to joke about whatever they want. Comedy is something that shouldn't be policed. So with that being said, I'm happy to support content creators who aren't afraid to make an edgy joke or two. If you don't like it, just don't follow them. They're not hurting anyone by making these kinds of jokes, and I respect the hell out of them for not bending to what people and YouTube want, which is very PG and PC humor. Lastly, the claims of Schlatt being a racist are the most extensive and arguably why most Minecraft stans who are only vaguely familiar with his content hate him. They think he's a genuine racist with an immense hatred for both the Asian and African American communities, which is simply not the truth. However, let's look at the horrible and downright despicable things that Schlatt has done against black people first. His reign of terror, or rather his reign of racism, all started on September 10th, 2017, when Schlatt tweeted out, "Intent matters. Only way PewDiePie saying N-word would be at all problematic is if he said it to spite someone, not just yelled it at a game." This was his response to the tragic event in which PewDiePie said the hard R N-word in PUBG on the bridge, and I agree with him here. Pewd didn't say the word in a racist context. He just said the worst thing he could think of at that moment, and that was it. He was regretful about it afterward and then ended up apologizing for his inappropriate behavior. But I find it exceptionally exceptionally pathetic that people went out of their way to use this take that Schlatt made almost 4 years ago to cancel him. This drama isn't even relevant anymore, who cares, just move on. But fast forward to last year on August 29th, Schlatt posted a video titled Deal or No Deal, in which he was playing the Deal or No Deal game on the Nintendo Wii. And at around the 5-minute 51-second mark, Schlatt is seemingly poking fun at the BLM fist. However, what he was actually mocking was people awkwardly supporting the movement, not the movement itself, seeing as how it was a common trend at around this time to express support for the movement awkwardly, a trend that was more so popular on TikTok than any other platform. But since some people had already believed that Schlatt was a racist before this, they took it at face value and ran with it, even going as far as to claim that this action, plus the fact that Schlatt had never publicly spoken out about the BLM movement, means that he's a definitive racist. However, what irks me about this is that viewers believe that YouTubers and streamers are public advocates when they're not. 9 times out of 10, we're not qualified to speak out about issues like these, and it's best that we don't to avoid looking like fools or just flat out ignorant. This isn't to say that you shouldn't use your platform for good, but you need to make sure you do it intelligently. Anyways, what really proved all of this to be bullshit was a glimpse into Schlatt's like history, in which he liked many tweets that were in support of BLM and condoned the actions of those against it. Let's be frank, an actual racist wouldn't like tweets like those, now would they? But unfortunately it doesn't end there, as there are even more claims against Schlatt for being racist, the next of which relates to his Mob Schlatt U2s, more specifically its original design, which featured a parody of the Dutch East India Company logo on the back of the chair to represent the Schlatt & Co logo. However, U2s would later remove this due to criticism of the logo for its resemblance to a horrible company's logo that was pro-slavery. This in turn led people to call out Schlatt for not caring about or being directly in support of slavery, which is ludicrous. The logo's resemblance was to joke about how powerful Schlatt & Co is. Nothing more, nothing less. Although I can agree that it probably wasn't the wisest marketing decision on both Schlatt and U2's behalf to put it on the design in the first place. On November 30th, Schlatt posted a tweet that said, "I'm rich and white. Why the fuck do you think I'm on Hood Twitter? Lamau." And as you can expect, people went bonkers over this tweet. Once again, he was called a racist, and this time around, people claimed that Schlatt was pro-segregation, which I don't even know how you could come to such a conclusion over a dumb tweet like this. Although he did eventually end up deleting the tweet after realizing how poorly people can potentially interpret it. This is probably the one instance of Schlatt folding due to the backlash, which is a bit unfortunate to see, but for the best in the long run. Lastly, there are 4 different Discord messages of Schlatt saying the N-word, 3 of which are fake. The one that's real was posted on March 30th, 2019, and it simply said, "Right now an N-word trying to jerk off." To say that this message is inherently racist and offensive towards black people is nothing short of delusional, since this message isn't directed at anyone, and that's why this claim lacks any sort of actual validity. Now we're going to move on to even more claims of racism. However, this set of claims is regarding racism against Asians. The first claim refers to a video on Schlatt's channel titled "I Went on a Minecraft Date," which was uploaded on August 11th, 2020. And in this video, he went on a Minecraft date with Minx, and Connor Eats Pants tagged along for the mess that it was as well. There's a point in the video where Connor and Schlatt trap Minx in an obsidian prison using command blocks. In a feeble attempt to escape, Minx starts trying to break the obsidian to no avail. And the catch is that other players can't see someone's progress when it comes to breaking a block. This in turn prompts Schlatt to do a bit in which he pulls on his eyes slightly to make himself look somewhat Asian, I guess, even though he barely stretches his damn eyes. So there really isn't much here to call out in the first place. However, the final claim for racism, and the one to conclude Schlatt's history with cancel culture altogether thus far, really grinds my gears. People have claimed that Jaden Animations, a prominent storytime animator, was a victim of Schlatt's maniacal racist rampage because of a joke he made, which simply wasn't the case. The joke that Schlatt made on one of Carson's streams was actually directed at Umi, a small Twitch streamer who just so happens to also be Asian, in which she said, "I hit one," after hitting someone in Mario Kart. Schlatt replied to this with, "Well, I mean, that's because you're Asian." Now, unfortunately, the clip cuts off after that, so I'm not sure how Umi responded to the joke, but ultimately I think the joke is pretty harmless since it's just a dumb stereotype. However, what is damning is how the person who made this call-out tweet in the first place fucked up so bad to the point where they got Jaden and Umi mixed up. I'd argue that's way more racist than the joke that Schlatt had made. By doing this, they've ruined any any and all credibility they could have otherwise had, and it's truly unfortunate to see how people took this at face value and didn't even bother to check whether the person in the clip was Jaden or not. It just goes to show how if the internet hates someone enough, they'll take anything they can get and use it against them. Nonetheless, we finally reached the end of Schlatt's history with cancel culture so far, and as you can tell, it sure as hell is a long one. But let me ask you a question. What's the commonality that you observed throughout each incident of cancellation that Schlatt faced? Well, my dear viewer, the answer is a lack of responsiveness, and this is what we will now be analyzing. For those unaware, Schlatt is a New Yorker, and let me tell you, New Yorkers are a whole other breed of person. They're so careless to the point where they don't give a single shit about anything. I mean, just a few weeks ago, as of the time I'm writing this, New Yorkers had to trudge through a flooded subway station to get to the train itself, and it seems like they did this with no hesitation whatsoever. They had zero qualms with it, so that should prove to you how little of a shit they give. Undeniably, that's an excellent quality to have as long as it's kept in check, of course. But on the other hand, so many people nowadays care too much about everything, even when there's no real need. This is certainly unhealthy and a mostly prominent mentality in the online space, especially on YouTube and Twitch. Viewers are so sensitive nowadays to the point where they are willing to cancel their favorite creators over anything they deem to be worthy of a cancellation, which more often than not is not worth making a fuss about. Time and time again, we've seen creators write up long twitlongers or boot up their streams to address the latest controversy they found themselves in. But the problem is that a situation like this can only go one of three ways. The creator can deny that they did anything wrong. This will make the viewers even angrier. The creator can admit they did something wrong. This will bring more attention to the drama and once again make viewers madder, or the creator can joke about the situation, which also makes viewers more upset. So all in all, there's no winning for the content creator, and Schlatt clearly understands this. Being the Chad New Yorker he is, he doesn't care about getting cancelled, as he knows it won't affect him in the long run, hence why he never says anything. It especially won't affect him since the people who cancel him aren't even part of his community, so they don't understand how Schlatt acts, and most of all, they don't understand that Schlatt is simply playing a character, but more on that later. Anyhow, for those of you who may not know, back in December of last year, Schlatt made an appearance on The Create Unknown, a podcast hosted by Kevin Lever of Vsauce2 and Matthew Tabor. During this podcast, there was a segment in which they discussed his experience with cancel culture. In it, Schlatt talks about how it simply isn't worth fighting against these people who don't even form part of his audience, as his content isn't tailored to these people who try to cancel him. He also mentions how he believes a person is probably uncancelable if they don't respond and don't care about being cancelled. This is precisely the kind of person Schlatt is, which is why he could be considered invincible to cancel culture. Plus, if the audience itself doesn't care, which Schlatt's audience definitely doesn't, the creator will never fall victim to cancel culture. So as long as it remains this way, which I don't see it changing anytime soon, Schlatt should be safe, thankfully. Something else worth noting is that the few times that Schlatt has responded, and I use that word lightly, to a cancellation, he's done nothing but poke fun at it. This was the case for the video uploaded on March 21st, 2021, titled "We Made This Game Terrible," in which Schlatt played Jackbox with a few friends, specifically the game mode called Survive the Internet. This game mode usually tends to bring about edgy jokes, especially when considering the people he was playing with. One of them was Swagger Souls, and he just so happened to make a joke about blackface in the video. For this joke, he had to literally draw a picture of someone in blackface, which prompted Schlatt to take that drawing and use it in the video's thumbnail. As you can probably imagine, Twitter had a field day with his thumbnail, and as a result, Schlatt changed it. The blackface drawing was removed and replaced with a sketch of the Twitter icon with the text "Dumb Bird," clearly poking fun at the whole situation. Nevertheless, as aforementioned, Schlatt, just like any other content creator, plays a character. We all put on acts for viewers to enjoy. We're not our authentic selves on camera, since let's face it, most content creators behind the scenes probably aren't all that interesting. So to compensate for this, we have to put on facades to a certain degree, and Schlatt is no different. But his character happens to be one that some people take issue with due to its polarizing nature. However, to reiterate, it's just a persona. The real Schlatt, as we've seen on the Weekly Slap, is a whole other person, and I think that we should conclude the video by comparing the two. Let's get into it. Schlatt's persona and the man behind it are polar opposites. On one end, the character he plays is very edgy and it feels very reminiscent of the YouTube from just a few years ago, more specifically 2016 YouTube. 2016 was when edginess was at its peak on the platform, with content creators such as Leafy, Grade, Filthy Frank, and iDubbbz dominating the site. Bear in mind that demonetization wasn't a thing at this point, so people didn't have to worry about watering down their humor to avoid repercussions. They could be as edgy as they pleased. Schlatt is among the few creators that still have this style of humor, since as you can imagine, it's not as commonplace as it was back in 2016, and I respect the hell out of that. We need people willing to push the boundaries and keep this form of humor alive for those who enjoy it, so props to Schlatt and others for doing their best to accomplish this. But on the other hand, the man behind the character seems to be a genuinely caring person. So look no further than the Weekly Slap, an advice channel in which viewers can send emails to Schlatt asking for advice on whatever it is they may be dealing with. I love this channel. I have nothing but good things to say about it. I just wish he uploaded more often to it, since we're so accustomed to seeing the character that Schlatt plays and not the real person, which is unfortunate since again he strikes me as a good person. This was especially noticeable during the Call Me Carson drama that took place just a few months back in January. For those unaware, Carson was cancelled for sexting a 17-year-old fan as a 19-year-old, and as you can expect, these situations are tough to deal with and often mismanaged. This drama was no exception. However, it's inarguable that Schlatt handled it the best from all of the Lunch Club members. On January 6th, a video titled Carson was uploaded to the Weekly Slap channel, in which Schlatt discussed his take on the whole situation, stating that he had attempted to help Carson put an end to his poor behavior as well as help him improve his overall mental state. However, it was all to no avail, as Carson had eventually relapsed and gone back to his ways. At this point, Schlatt cut ties with Carson, seeing as he could no longer trust him since Carson had lied to him numerous times. With all of the other Lunch Club members, it felt like they dropped Carson as soon as he confessed to them what he had done, whereas Schlatt, like a true friend, stuck by his side until he just couldn't afford to anymore. This is a testament to Schlatt's maturity and is incredibly commendable. Everyone should strive to have a friend like him, and it just sucks that Twitter refuses to see this side of him. Schlatt was nothing but level-headed in this situation. He wasn't at all hateful towards Carson in the video. If anything, he just seemed like he wanted his friend to get the help he needs and become a better person. He didn't run to Dramaler or the authorities. He stayed with him for as long as he could, and unfortunately it didn't pan out the way it should have. Although despite everything that happened, and this might be a bit of a hot take, I could see them being friends again when Carson makes his inevitable return. Let me know if I'm crazy or not in the comment section. I'm curious what people think. I also say this because apart from Slimesicle, Schlatt is the only Lunch Club member that still follows Carson on Twitter. In contrast, every other member either unfollowed or outright blocked him. Not to say that this means they're on good terms, I just find it interesting that they still follow each other after the drama took place. But alas, only time will tell where they stand when Carson makes his return within the next few weeks. Nonetheless, Schlatt's character may not be for everyone, but it's undeniable that the man behind that character is the kind of person that everyone should strive to be. Unfortunately, nowadays, YouTube feels like it's littered with these fake-ass people who put on facades that make them out to be these outstanding and flawless people, when in reality, they're the scum of the earth. Schlatt is the complete opposite of this. The persona he puts on is an asshole, but in actuality, he's a courteous, intelligent, and mature individual, something that seems ever so lacking in the online space. I hope Schlatt continues to be like this and never changes his ways, as he helps fill the void of genuine people on the platform, since unfortunately that void just seems to continue enlarging. But with all that being said and done, let's wrap this video up. In conclusion, Schlatt is invincible to cancel culture because he ultimately doesn't care about it and never responds when he's being canceled. He understands that apologizing is a net loss, and it just adds even more fuel to the fire. Furthermore, he also knows that the people who try to ruin his career time and time again aren't even part of his audience, hence why he doesn't bother with responding. Schlatt's audience will always have his back against losers who attempt to cancel him for the most trivial of things. And as long as his audience continues to be this way, which which it undoubtedly will, he will be perfectly fine. In addition, his fans know that he's simply playing a persona and that the real Schlatt is nothing shy of a fantastic person, hence why fans will never legitimately attempt to cancel him and end his career. That is, unless all of the things he claims he did back in the 90s turn out to be true, then well, that may very well be the end of his career, but I'm holding out hope that those things aren't true. But besides that, that concludes the video. Thank you so much for watching it if you made it this far, and if you enjoyed it, please drop the video a like and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this one. Once again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, I'll see you next one.